Oh wow, just wow. In this day and age, I guess companies like Ubisoft, a company originating in France of all places, they must have no standards, and they'll stoop low enough to publish a game that mocks the one thing we all hold sacred, the United States of America, and our lovable, harmless, resilient, gun-worshipping hill people. Are we really gonna let France mock our country like this? And with such over-the-top violence? How fucking dare they mock the USA? The smartest, healthiest, happiest, safest country on this whole earth. You
don't at me.
You can't spell T.U.G.S without U.S., and you can't spell U.S. without you. So grab a raw onion to munch on and stick around.
Soy boy.
Peggy 18.
Far Cry 5 was just unleashed on an unsuspecting public who couldn't have possibly known that after years of ultra-destructive and arguably insensitive missions in places like Micronesia, Africa, and the Pacific Islands, the Himalayas, the 1980s, and the Stone Age, that the game would finally come for us. The humble, hardworking Americans. Well, I say enough is enough, because there's one thing we can't take. It's a joke. And the truth.
That too.
We simply can't handle the truth. No. But also, it's really pissing people off that in spite of countless game releases over the years that have included the absolute decimation of foreign landscapes, a game could be released that turns the player's sights on shitty, cult-following, blue-blooded Americans from Montana.
Sad.
There's a line, and you crossed it, Frenchie!
Finally, you crossed it. I thought this country was about freedom, no matter how stupid you are.
Yeah!
If I want to blindly follow a murderous cult leader, it's my God-given American right to do so.
Yeah!
All right, let's stop now because this is all fucking ridiculous. And also, it's hilarious because, like we said, video games are mostly, yet intentionally, blind to the set and setting that they choose to take on in a way that somehow makes it okay to mow down hundreds of citizens regardless of whether or not they're the bad guys. A lot of times, the country's names and specific locations are just completely made up, though tied to real places.
Yeah, that's how they get away with it.
Exactly.
It's not racist if they don't exist.
But they can sort of exist, just not with the same name.
But hey, for some reason, they just couldn't make up enough of a fictional storyline to not try to attack our freedoms here in the US. Or at least, that's what some outspoken communities online have alleged. Don't tread on me, Ubisoft.
Don't tread on Sneck.
Ever since the original teaser trailer and artwork for the game were released about a year ago, there have been questions online as to why the developers would come after America during a time where the country has been divided as ever, outside of, the whole Cold War thing and the Civil War thing and the Revolution and slavery and civil rights. Okay. No, this is it. Well, it's because fuck you. That's why these games have always featured over-the-top comical renditions of villains from whichever locale. Why the hell would this be any different?
A few years ago, a story for a game like this certainly wouldn't be picked apart at all, but for some reason, certain Americans think that they're constantly under attack, even if they're aware that this isn't supposed to be a historical narrative or one that's based in exact reality. It's the same almost outrage that they were like, but there's no swastikas in Call of Duty. And why do I have to kill the Nazis in Wolfenstein?
Have you listened to the radio in the GTA games? They're making fun of you.
When the trailer was first released, there were change.org petitions going around that were so absurd, they simply couldn't be real. And they probably are, but we'd bet that at least some of the signatures attached to those petitions were actually done earnestly. At the point of the game's release, this Cancel Far Cry 5 petition has gained over 2,500 signatures, and they're still coming in.
You think they're gonna pull it off the shelves?
I think they're gonna retroactively take it. But the thing here is, 2,200 of those, probably everyone who's in on the joke, but a couple who are like, yeah, you know what? This petition makes a lot of good points. I like this. Let's just read some of this thing and the demands that some gamers had for Ubisoft when the game was just being announced. And now again, we have to say this multiple times. This is most likely satire with some pepperings of the legit signatures from people who are probably angry, but fuck it, it's hilarious. Here you go.
Cancel Far Cry 5. Enough is enough, Ubisoft. We've sat through your multicultural lectures and your preachy games aimed at degenerates and miscegenators. We've tolerated it in the name of gameplay design and innovation, but no more. Far Cry 5 is an insult to your fanbase, the Americans who make up the majority of your customers, and it's time you woke up to that fact. Change this or cancel it. Us gamers have had to endure a lot of crap over the last few years. The targeted harassment by the mainstream press through Gamergate, the terrible launch and outright lies of highly anticipated video games, the outright censorship of art through localization policies, the continued rejection of romantic partners when they find out our hobby, the appropriation of our culture by so-called gamers on Twitter, no more.
It continues. It continues. I'm not going to do the voice because it'll hurt. It'll hurt my windpipe.
I'm in pain. I don't know how they do it.
Anyways, the petition does continue. It's time to draw a line in the sand. We, the American gamers that make up the majority of your user base, demand you to cancel this game or alter it to be less offensive to your main player base. In these times, you must understand that there might be some violent repercussions if you intend to follow through with your pointless criticism. So here are the following suggestions to make your game right. Number 1, change the villains. It's not so hard, really. Just change the villains to something more realistic. Islam is on the rise in America, as is the violence of inner-city gangs. Are you scared to do so? In the words of Voltaire,
Go on.
in the words of Voltaire, to learn who rules you, simply find out who's not being criticized. It's a famous Voltaire quote.
I'm a big Voltaire fan.
He's the extreme version.
Fuck.
Yeah.
This has to be satire.
Yes. Okay.
Next up, alter the villains. Even if you insist on making the villains American Christians, consider mixing the races a bit to not target white people exclusively. There are plenty of nationalists of every stripe and every race and creed. So throw in some blacks and Mexicans. There's no reason a protectionist nationalist movement would all be one race. What? Why stop being politically correct here?
Another one is alter the plot. It's obvious that you continue to insist on using these characters. However, with a few artistic tweaks, you can save the concept entirely. Have the villains simply be misguided patriots forced into making their own nation versus the will of an oppressive over-government. Construed of all the people they turn their wrath against in their immediate surroundings. Their brutal physical and sexual violence towards their oppressors will then be explained as a reaction to harsh government policies and taxation, to show that both sides are wrong.
Taxes.
Change the setting, but only for certain markets. Look, I get that anti-Americanism plays in France, and I'm not telling you to give up on potential profits due to complaints. Wouldn't want to be thought as one of those hypocrite feminists, right? But for America, right now, anti-Americanism is out. You gotta play your market. Change the setting to Canada for America.
Sure, just toss it on them.
This way you don't turn away potential players due to offensiveness, because no one plays video games in Canada.
Yeah.
Just trying to help you make more money. Follow one or more of these and the game will be saved from PC hell and multicultural development. We Americans have so few games to call our own, and we're tired of losing them to multicultural bullshit. Wow! Wow! Holy shit!
Oh, by the way, there was an update posted which...
Won't someone make games for us, please?
There was an update posted which starts off with the author claiming that Change.org was trying to censor them, or something. But then, the author speaks about their success with the campaign.
Oh.
Adding this, I would say that this petition has been a great success. Ubisoft has created some new game images for the game that shows some black man in the villains table. We can finally move towards true equality once we ensure video game antagonists reflect reality. I think they even made some of the enemies a little more Islamic by having them invoke their religion a lot in that trailer, which is great news. Ubisoft is truly listening to gamers.
Jesus
What's wrong, Elliot?
Christ.
Oh, it's continuous. Yeah, so yeah,
That whole thing.
hopefully, please.
Almost certainly.
Please God, almost, it has to be satire.
Yeah.
If it's not,
We're doomed.
we're done. We're
Yeah.
done. The show is canceled if that's not satire.
Yeah.
Don't at me.
We're finally going back to canceling this show every episode.
Yeah. And sure, there certainly is some actual animosity out there towards the game from some forums online which responded to trailers as they were released, saying things like, bullshit leftist delusional fantasy world of crazy Trump supporters taking over the world, and you, along with every other POC in the game, are the good guys meant to be the resistance to this evil white Christian supremacist. And yep, straight up SJW Marxist propaganda, the entire left, the media, and the government all march in lockstep with the most extreme revolutionary Marxist elements on the fringe of their party. It's out of fucking control. But I mean, we're just, cherry picking those like
Of course.
every other outlet cherry picks anything in order to get a rise out of you.
Yeah.
How we doing? I mean, the title of this video was meant to piss off both sides of the argument. Cause the both sides are the same!
Hell, even T.U.G.S field reporter Ian Miles Chong isn't upset with the game at all, and thinks it's actually doing more to piss off the SJWs than anyone else. His tweets, are, of course, cherry-picked, just like the quotes, articles, and petitions we chose to show. But the real game is pissing off gamers for views. Or in the case of Ubisoft, free press and marketing. Every feigned outrage article or legitimate complaint online just ended up giving Ubisoft free marketing for the game across multiple platforms. Every gaming site covered the ongoing controversy, and look, we're even technically doing it now, although we're sure that Shibby will shit on it regardless.
In truth, the amount of people who are upset with Far Cry 5, from either the SJW soy drinking left to the raw onion eating all right, is at best minimal. And the rest of the world, who just enjoys video games for what they are, seem to be having a great time with the game, which is scoring very high for its story and general gameplay, despite some important features that were lacking from what they consider to be multiplayer.
Yeah, apparently you can drop into people's games for co-op, but everything you earn gets deleted as soon as you leave.
Yeah, you have to be the host.
Yeah,
There.
so that sucks.
Although, just to throw this in there, now that the game has actually been released and people are playing through it, there does apparently seem to be a mission involving the infamous P-tape.
Yeah.
Polygon has a description of the mission with a video walkthrough, and without spoiling too much, here's how it is laid out.
You begin the mission by speaking to a man who claims to be a special agent and says he was sent by the big man himself, and he has a very special job for you. I need you to recover a tape that, if released, could make him look bad to the public. I tracked it here to a member of Joseph, a cult leader's happy family. He's stashed it somewhere, and that's where you come in. The owner of the in-game tape is described as a hotel worker who got a little too nosy about the big man's time in a luxury suite and then fled Kremlandia. So, you know what? You got that little Easter egg. There you go.
Okay.
Kind of on the nose.
Yeah. In other gaming news, Destiny 2 is still a sad, disappointing game that hung fans of the original out to dry in a way that we haven't seen in recent memory. But hey, this week, that all changes. Or not.
No.
Most likely not. But they're deploying a huge patch referred to as the Go Fast update.
Gotta go fast. They're putting Sonic in the game.
I'd play the shit out of that.
Yeah.
It's an update that Bungie probably hopes will make the remaining player base a little bit less volatile. Spoiler alert, it won't. But what's in this update anyway? Well, Rock, Paper, Shotgun did a pretty good breakdown with links to more details and patch notes available for active players who want even more details. They said this.
A higher player speed cap, faster glides, quicker super cooldowns, faster player and ammo respawn times in the Crucible, perk buffs, and weapon buffs with a particular focus on shotguns, sniper rifles, and fusion rifles. The weapon changes are especially pleasant for buffing underpowered weapons rather than nerfing overpowered ones. In Destiny 1, people would have said, probably correctly, that means we would nerf those things. They're nails that are sticking up out of the board and we would have hammered them back in to be even with the board. That's what Sandbox design lead Josh Hamrick said, and he continued, for this update, we did the opposite. We said, these things are hot. Let's bring everything else to them. And so we started raising each thing up, whether it be in PvE or PvP. We've also learned the lesson of don't sand the coolness down. Leave the jagged spikes of personality in there. So the dozen or so of you watching that still play Destiny 2 should let us know how much better this makes the game and whether or not we should reinstall it. Did you uninstall it, Tippy?
I did.
There you go. But let's move on.
Fortnite's being ruined by girls!
Oh no! Not my games!
Gross.
Well, some Twitter users who took time away from Snapchatting their wins seem to think
That's the
that's
case.
the case.
Yeah.
Girls are ruining Fortnite. And apparently it's all because of that mobile app version of the game. Apparently, at least at middle school and high school age, girls, as they call them, aren't interested enough in major titles to buy a console or a PC to play them on. Yes, we know there's lots of full-fledged gamer girls out there who are simply referred to as gamers, but we're reading this from the Twitter fingers of children who are still in school, obviously. Now here are some of the complaints seen online as collected by the weblog Kotaku.
Ever since Fortnite went mobile, all the girls started playing it. Now they lag when they text, LOL.
Girls think they us now because they got Fortnite mobile, crying laughing emoji.
Fortnite mobile, low-key for girls, LMAO, have yet to encounter a guy playing it. They stick to consoles.
Shout out to Fortnite for making this mobile. Now all these girls realize the lifestyle us men live.
Ooh.
God.
I like the idea of like an 11-year-old calling himself a man.
Awesome.
Specifically because he plays
If
Fortnite.
he's Jewish, he's only 2 years off.
That's true, but the idea that specifically because he plays Fortnite. Yeah, I left Minecraft behind. Now I play a man's game. Anyways, these continue. Girls have officially ruined Fortnite Mobile. RIP.
Fortnite Mobile is not real Fortnite, girls.
And females. You're not allowed to say you play Fortnite unless you play it consistently on console, not mobile. Should we tell these kids that it's on PC?
No.
PS4 better than PC.
I can't imagine playing this fucking game with a controller.
I've tried
I'd
it.
lose my damn mind.
I've tried it. It's okay. It's frustrating going from the PC to the controller.
Can't fucking aim. How am I supposed to aim with this shit?
Aim assist.
Get those big old stick extenders.
Yeah. I can only play with the
move it like this.
Smurf Pod, or what's the fucking gamepad called?
Well, the nice controller
Scuff Pod. Scuff controller.
The control extenders are control freaks.
Control freaks. Mad Cats. I need to get a Mad Cats controller for Fortnite.
Bankrupt.
But yeah, there you go. That's the fragile young male ego.
Yeah.
It's okay. They'll learn. I don't know. Maybe they will. Also, they should be embracing this. Like, guys, little dudes, why don't you have a seat? Have a seat, young blood. You now have something in common with girls that you didn't previously. You should become friends with them. Play a duos match.
Mm-hmm. It's like the new Netflix and chill. Fortnite and fuck.
These are 11-year-olds, Ricky.
What? No. Just that last one.
Ew.
Oh, Elliot, you're so puritanical to think that teenagers aren't out there making whoopee? I mean, I know I didn't because I was ugly as sin.
Yeah, but use this. Use this. But hey, speaking of girls who like Fortnite, Shibby's back with another one of his sacred reviews. And well, it's about Fortnite on mobile and PUBG too, I guess. So,
Tugs boys and Tugs girls. This week I was planning on reviewing Far Cry 5. However, here on Tugs, we're so ethical, we don't even get sent game codes anymore for a review. No early access, no priority email list, no free ultimate pack upgrade. We got our boots on the ground just like all you ass eaters out there. Bottoms up. Anyways, that review will need to wait till next week. In the meantime, the biggest battle royale game in the world, I mean, biggest battle royale game in China, recently had a mobile release. I know what you're thinking, but shitty. Fortnite recently got a mobile release, so talk about that. Well, lucky for you, Viewer, I'll talk about both. So strap on your learning hats because Professor Shibby is here. So
Strap on an ass in the same sentence, huh?
I'm into some weird stuff. Let's talk about timelines here because we're chronological as fuck. Fortnite State of the World is in development for like 3 or 4 years. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is in the rumblings, a private invite-only alpha type situation. Fortnite State of the World is still an NDA alpha. PUBG goes through various stages of open, closed, invite-only, alpha, and a little bit of beta. PUBG goes early access March 2017, with Fortnite State of the World coming out of NDA in July 2017. Stick with me here, there's a lot going on. PUBG blows up during this time in the biggest game in the world, while Fortnite State of the World is okay at best. September 2017 rolls around and Fortnite Battle Royale comes out on all platforms for free. From here, Fortnite BR continually got significant updates to slowly builds up a lot of attention as it's free, faster paced than PUBG, easier to access than PUBG, as well as on all platforms, platnorms. PUBG is obviously pissed because they were beaten to console by a business partner. PUBG then releases a slow-paced desert map, and the game is slowly bleeding players to the platnorm free-to-play battle royale game of Fortnite. PUBG Xbox releases in December 2017, and it's hot garbage. Fortnite continually to climb and releases iOS-only mobile version earlier this March. Game Developer Convention GDC rolls around, and PUBG releases on mobile as well. Later in March for both iOS and Android. Need some more G Fuel. After that history lesson, trust me, 100% accurate, no need to fact check. So class, what do we learn today? Well, probably nothing because none of this matters. Video games are stupid, right? Of course. Anyways, let me talk to you quickly about the mobile versions. Fortnite Mobile, actually seamless. You log in with your main Epic account, you have access to our levels, inventory challenges, all that shit. It's perfectly synced up and progression can be made while you're on the go. PUBG Mobile, completely different login, either through Facebook, in which you'd be giving Tencent most likely all your data, which should be criminal, or just use a guest account. No Steam account syncing here, none of your cosmetics or BP currency, kinda shitty. Fortnite Mobile plays pretty well on my iPhone X and I experienced minimal graphical issues, just mostly server desync, and it was on the initial release day.
Now you're gonna review Far Cry 5.
Next week. PUBG Mobile ran well on the Pixel 2, graphically dumbed down, which is smart for less hitching, as well as 0 server issues. And you might be wondering, well, why is there no server issues, Shibby? Well, viewer, you play against AI bots. That's right. Unlike Fortnite Mobile, where you're playing against real players on your real account, in PUBG Mobile you play against bots until you slowly rank up and maybe encounter more humans. Sad. No joke. Seriously, go download PUBG Mobile unless you're a complete potato. You'll probably win with easily 5-10 kills against these AI bots. Even Elliot could win a game on PUBG Mobile. For real. The most interesting thing here about PUBG Mobile is it actually has mechanics that the main Steam version does not have. The mobile version has auto-looting, automatically equipping attachments when you run over a loot pile, login bonuses, daily missions, better screen indicators for backpack space, better map markers, as well as a better stat screen at the end of the round. Lots of quality of life improvements that the main version of the game does not have. The mobile version of the game actually plays better than the Xbox version. Sad. Fortnite Mobile does have an interesting audio-visual indicator for shots, footsteps, and chests. Other than that, it's basically the same, which is not a bad thing. So overall, mobile games are garbage, PC's the master race. The end.
Oh, thanks, Shibby, but let's move on to a real review. Last week, we found a review for Far Cry 4. This week, we're digging a little deeper to find out what people were saying about Far Cry 3 when it was released. Here's a review from Crow Montgomery, who, aside from having a name that sounds like it would be attached to a character in the new Far Cry, had some things to say about Far Cry 3. They titled their review, Our Wrong Story Shortener. Okay, here's what they had to say.
Crow Montgomery here with a game review about Far Cry 3.
Well, you all been waiting to hear what Crow Montgomery said about the new Far Cry. Well, here it is. Well, this is the old Far Cry, but here it is.
The gameplay is fine. Similar to Far Cry 2, but this game's repetitive, and the main characters / storyline are just ridiculously boring. I genuinely wonder how this narrative was written, and what demographics the developers tried to capture. Was there any market research? How about just pick up a survey of post-World War II literature for some basic story structure and thematic elements? It is a frat boy, great white hero / noble savage story, and is culturally offensive in parts. The rest is offensive to any breathing human sense of dynamism in storytelling. Far Cry 2 at least touched on some interesting elements of post-colonial factionalism and warfare, and moral middle grounds. 1 star.
I see. This Far Cry is offensive to me.
Would you guys like to have a conversation about social justice?
Hey, why don't you boys sit down and have a little rap with me about how the social justice warriors were right the entire time.
Gender isn't exactly a binary. It's a spectrum, my boy.
I love the idea of an old Southern man sitting on a porch and being the exact opposite.
I suggest you have a good look at your privilege, son. You might see that you've had it easier than you think.
I say, universal basic income is something we might need in the future because of all the automation.
I want this man to exist.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's a great straw man.
I'd vote for Crow Montgomery.
I would vote for Crow Montgomery too.
I like the way he talks.
Well, you see, the thing is once everybody's paying into the health insurance pool, the prices go down. But realistically, we should probably have some kind of universal health care paid for by the government through taxation. I mean, we're not living in the 1800s anymore.
We've seen it work in Scandinavia, the European Union.
Are we so different? New show character, Crow Montgomery. The social justice warrior of Montgomery, Alabama.
Southern Justice Warrior.
Yes, Southern Justice Warrior. Please do some art. Please, if you are artistic at all, please draw Crow Montgomery, the Southern Justice Warrior.
Now, I'm not saying take all the guns away. I'm just asking for background check.
I mean, the Constitution does say that it is a well-regulated militia. High-capacity magazines are something that nobody on the street needs. It's a war weapon. Now, don't get me wrong. I hunt for my food.
I don't eat nothing I haven't seen die.
But I load my musket up with gunpowder and a single shell at a time. That way, it's fair for the animals.
Just like my daddy and his daddy and his daddy and his daddy and his daddy. General Crow Montgomery the First.
Woo!
Anyway,
new character.
Watch our other shit.
Yeah, we got another episode of Tugs from last week. You can watch our live show where we talked about everything. Mostly questions from the chat, but you know, a little bit about Stormy Daniels fucking Trump.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, geez, oh my. The evangelicals are rolling in their graves. All right.